going back to basics and away from the algorithm has actually worked for me. You're trying to be perfect and it's not working. Well, you're not alone here. I feel the same way. And this isn't another wellness tip. It's just what feels real and how exhausted I am by trying to buy it and fix it and trying to be perfect. Hi, I'm Dina, and this is Dina's Journal. Welcome back to episode 2, and thank you for listening. Wellness online can look really beautiful. It's the routines, the clean food, the perfect skin, the perfect body, the perfect schedule, the workouts. Everything just looks so put together. And, that can be inspiring because it works for some people, and that's great. But other times it can make you feel like you're constantly trying to catch up, but you can't. You're always behind. You're always not doing enough, or you're not disciplined enough. And that's such a heavy feeling to carry. I know it is for me. And especially when wellness is supposed to feel like care. Unfortunately, these can make you feel like the changes that you're making are not enough. And the worst part is it doesn't always happen in an obvious way. It's subtle. So, you're scrolling, you're watching, you're saving like your workouts and your routines, and you're saying like, maybe I should try that. And then suddenly you're carrying this pressure that you didn't mean to pick up. And the worst part is this is how they want it to be. And I want to remind myself and remind you, and this is why I wanted to do this podcast or this episode. We always forget that wellness is not a one size fits all. It's because, I have like a routine of mine. I go to the gym 5 to 6 times a week. That works for me. It doesn't mean it works for you. And it doesn't mean that you're doing less or you're not trying harder or, you're not taking care of yourself. It just means that your life is different. Your schedule is different. Your energy level is different. Your body is different. And your needs are different. The internet makes us forget that progress and results are going to look different for everyone. But the online world, it can feel as if there's only one version that we need to follow and we're always chasing. And it's just not real. It's just not real. And honestly, I'm a little tired of seeing the same thing over and over. It just keeps getting complicated, and there's so much information and so many trends and so many routines and new things that come up every single day. And it's shaping us to think that that's what it's supposed to look like. So let's talk a little bit about it. Let's get into it. When you think about the algorithm, it doesn't reward the quiet, the normal stuff. Like, let's say, like I went for a walk today and I felt great, or I cooked a simple meal and it was delicious and I'm proud of myself. That's normal and it's boring. Let's be honest. Instead, it rewards the extremes, the transformations, this changed my life in 3 days, so it will change yours. And guess what? You try it and it doesn't change your life. It's still the same. Actually, it might be worse because you feel disappointed and you feel upset that it didn't work for you just like it worked for someone else. But if you think about it, that's why people keep watching. That's what gets saved. That's what gets shared. That's what goes viral. But here's what maybe you don't hear as often is that a lot of wellness content is not created to make you feel calm. It's created to make you keep watching so that you can buy the next thing. So you can buy, the product, so you can do the workout or do the routines. And honestly, just because it's on the internet or because TikTok told you doesn't mean you need to buy it. Let's be honest, right? Like for days now, the Instagram has been trying to sell me that lymphatic vibration plate that I think every girl has. And I'm like, okay, I get it. please stop. But that's how the algorithm works. Once you look it up once, or if it comes up once in your feed and you look at it for more than 5 seconds, then it just keeps repeating itself. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but that's just how it works. And that's how they make their sales. But you have to think, how do you get out of that? How do you get out of that habit that you have to have it? I think the more we have, the more complicated it gets. Actually, there's something that's stuck with me lately. I listened to this podcast by Jay Shetty. He was having a conversation with a neuroscientist about why we feel stuck sometimes and why change can feel so hard even when we want to make that change. And one part that really hit me is this idea of identity mismatch. Basically, what that is a version of you that you think you are doesn't match with the version of you that you are trying to become, right? And I think that identity mismatch, it's on the internet, especially around wellness, because you're watching these people or influencers or content creators who seem like they have this perfect routine, the perfect habits, the perfect bodies, waking at 4 a.m. to go to the gym, or and then you look at your real life and you look at your schedule, you look at your responsibilities, your work, your family, your routine, and it just doesn't match. So instead of thinking, okay, this doesn't work for me, I'm going to try something else that works for me. Instead of thinking that, we start thinking, maybe I'm the problem. And I want to say, you're not the problem. We're not the problem. It's not that you're failing. It's that you're trying to force yourself into a version of wellness that doesn't feel fit with your reality and your real identity. Real wellness starts when you stop copying someone else's routine or habits and start building your own, something that actually fits. And that's where, in my opinion, I like to go back to basics. I've been there. I felt that pressure. I'm not above it. I've followed all the trends. I've bought the under eye patches and I followed workout routines, when I started my health journey, and I've drank the teas and I've done New Year's resolutions. I've done it all. I'm guilty of it too, because I fell for the algorithm, right? A couple years ago, I started going to the gym and I was trying to find ways to get better at it, because I would always start and I would always stop. And I would see these extreme routines that I would try, and it just never stuck. It never worked. Because what I think happens is we have these expectations in our head, like, oh, if I do that, if I do this exercise, if I eat this meal, I'll look exactly like that person, or I'll feel like that person. And then we try, and maybe it sticks for like a couple weeks, maybe a month. And then it just doesn't work. And we feel disappointed and sad. And I've been there. That's why I'm talking to you about it. And that's when wellness stops being wellness and starts becoming pressure. Because we try to treat wellness like a finish line. Like, I'll finally be happy if I lose the weight. If if my skin is perfect, if I perfect my routine, if I fix everything, I'll finally be happy. And when that doesn't work, what do? But life isn't about that. It doesn't work like that. You're allowed to enjoy life while you're still work in progress. You're allowed to feel proud about yourself. You're allowed to feel good about who you're becoming. And I think it's hard to find that nowadays, because everything is about this perfect image, and we're not perfect. When I say I want to go back to basics, I don't mean that I don't want to still take care of myself. Instead, I want to take something that has become so complicated, and make it simple, right? Make it something that I can actually do and it fits in my life and my routine. Um, because yeah, it sounds nice, but let me break it down. Simple is always works best. And for me, I know wellness is actually working when I'm not obsessing over the scale. So I said, like, a few years ago, I started my wellness and my health journey, and I used to look at the numbers in the scale and always feel like that was the answer. But whenever the numbers went down, I felt great, but then they would go up, the next day or the next week, and I felt like I was failing. But I know now that wellness is working for me when I'm actually focusing on things that feel real. Like, I know I'm being active. I know I'm trying to eat the right foods, and I'm drinking more water and all these things. And I don't look at the scale anymore. Instead, I look at the actual clothes. How do my clothes fit me? Am I feeling stronger? Do I have more energy? Is my mood better? And that's the goal. That's the progress I wanted to see. And that's what I saw when I stopped looking at the scale, which can mess with your head a lot. And it still does sometimes because my weight goes up and down, but I try to tell myself that's not the focus, because it doesn't show the full picture. It doesn't show my strength, my muscles, my, how I feel in my body. I have more energy, and my mood is better. And I feel so supportive, and I want to continue doing it. And this is the beauty of it. When you see something working the way it's supposed to work for you, not because someone else told you how to do it, but because that's how you felt you wanted to do it. And when you see that progress, that's the best results you can have. Another thing is, I look at these trends about waking up early in the morning, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to go to the gym or to start your day. And that for me is unrealistic. I cannot wake up at 4 a.m. unless I have to. I'd rather get my 8 hours of sleep whenever I can. I'm not saying that every day I'm getting 8 hours, but with the 8 hours, that's realistic to me. And I feel better as well. I feel rested. My skin is better. I'm motivated. I have energy. And that might not work for you because you have other responsibilities. But you can't tell me that I have to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, because that's going to change my life in 3 days, right? Same goes for water. I like to wake up and drink water instead of having coffee first thing. I think hydration is key to a good and clear skin. So, if I want my skin to feel better and my digestion to feel better, I'll try to drink more water during the day and when I wake up. And instead of, buying these 5 to 10 products that I need for my skin to look clear, I just drink water or tea or natural products that I can buy at the store, at the supermarket, and not waste hundreds of dollars. Because let's be real, if I pay, if I try to get those 10 products, my pocket can't afford it. It's just, again, it's very unrealistic for me to do that. It's literally water, sleep, eating real food, and moving my body. And I can do those things very simple. And, if I can't do it the right way, I adjust. I adjust so that I can keep my goal, so that I can be consistent. Simple is better. That's it. And that's the theme for this episode. Wellness doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't need to be aesthetic. That's all there is to it. It just needs to be within your reality. For me, going back to basics is where it is, and where, for me, basics means being active in a way that feels good, eating whole foods as much as I can, taking care of my mind, right? That's a big thing. And then trying to be consistent, but not perfect. This is where food comes in as well, because when I started cooking for myself, and I've cooked for, I've been alone since I was 18, so I've always cooked for myself, but it's never been, I've never tried to choose the best foods or whole foods. It's been a mixture of processed food. And when I think about the last couple of years, I have focused more on trying to make a dish that's tastes good, first of all, but also it's nutritious. And that's where you have to find the balance. But that works for me. And maybe, I'll meal prep the weekend, maybe not. But if I don't meal prep, then I'll go ahead and cook the night before. And whatever works around my schedule, because some days I'm busy, some days I'm not. So, but I still show up, and consistently I choose the right foods, the right routine for me. I want you to ask yourself, what does that look like for you, right? Because maybe your version of wellness isn't, cooking whole foods all the time, or sleeping 8 hours, or hitting those 10,000 steps a day. Maybe, you hit 5,000 today and 12,000 tomorrow, or you spend a couple of days where you're not as active. You're letting your body rest and recharge. But that's still wellness, because wellness is not doing it all the right way. It's about doing what you can and coming back to yourself. And that's important, because being consistent is the key to taking care of yourself. And I think that's what I want more of. I'm tired of feeling that I'm behind, or I need to fix myself, or I need to start over on Monday, or it's New Year and I need to set up my resolutions. You don't need to start over. You can just start again. Let that sink in. Just start again. Just be consistent, and progress will come along. But the internet doesn't show you that part, because it might be boring, or because simply you might not go viral. And I think the biggest thing to take from this episode is that you don't need another trend. You don't need another product. You don't need another routine that makes you feel guilty, right? You need to repeat the stuff that works for you, the basics that work for you. And you need a version of that wellness that can feel realistic and kind. Truth is, most of us are just doing our best, and we're just tired of all this information. At least that's how I feel. And we're trying to keep up with everything, and maybe it's not as sustainable as we think it is. And if you're in that place right now, I just want you to know that you're not alone. I feel the same way, and that's why I wanted to make this episode for whoever joins me in this conversation. And if you feel seen in this episode, I would love for you to chime in and tell me what wellness looks like for you right now. Not the perfect version, not what you saw yesterday while you were checking your feed, but the real version. Like what do you want to build for yourself? What kind of wellness or routine or life? What is more realistic for you? And I wanted to start at the end of every episode. I wanted to start, because it's a journal, right? And this is a space where we talk about anything and everything. And I thought about starting a journal prompt of the week. And for this week, because we're talking about wellness, being simple and being affordable and beautiful and motivational, what would wellness look like if I stopped trying to impress anyone or everyone? Think about that. If you want, you can leave that in the comments. I'd love to know what my listeners think about. And if you are in your 20s or 30s and you are still figuring things out in real time, welcome. Thank you for joining me. This is your space too. And I want to make these episodes a space that we can all come in and have these real conversations. It's important to share our feelings, but it's also important to understand that we're not alone. We all feel the same sometimes. It's important to understand that our problems are common and there might be a solution. And with that, thank you for being here and thank you for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers. If you have any ideas or something that you've been thinking about and want to chat, let me know. Either comments or you can find me on Instagram at Dina's Journal. Also TikTok. I also post my food videos, shorts and reels on those platforms, and I would love for you to join me and so that I can keep making more. The more you show up, the more I can make. I'm just doing this for fun, and so far I'm loving it. And this is a space for me to unwind, and I think it's going really well. And I hope you guys have fun too. Bye.